Right, just an autumnal update for you folks. I'm currently driving back to my house in the northeast in my Humber Super Snipe. I was out in the car the other day and I suffered a sudden stoppage of the engine. It just cut out. It's a set of traffic lights. I was going to say cut out at a most inconvenient juncture. Well, there is no convenient place or time for a car to cut out. So, as it was a sudden stoppage, I thought, well, it's definitely electrical, but I had lights on and still had them, so I knew it must have been ignition. It wasn't a total power failure, something to do with the ignition. I tried restarting it to no avail. Engine didn't want to know. So I was just sat there really. Fortunately I'd fitted hazard warning lights to this car just in case of, well, a fault like that. They do happen, they can and do happen from time to time. I tried to get it off the road just on the starter motor in first gear, but it wouldn't make it up the curb, so I was sat there just contemplating my next move, and I thought, well, I'll give it another try. I didn't want to run the battery down, you see, and it fired up again. So I wasn't far from the filling station. I was only within spitting distance, so I made it there and it was ticking over fine. I opened the bonnet, had a look around, any loose connections, etc., everything fine, so I filled up and went home. Then in the daylights the next day I took the distributor cap off and I found the rotor arm to be quite full of carbon dust and a bit dull on the brass segment that sweeps the distributor cap, so I replaced it with a spare one I've got in the glove box, and I'm thinking that was it. I'm thinking it was full of carbon dust and it just failed like that. I've also just done an oil change on the car. So we're getting towards autumn, winter now. It's a lot darker, as you can see, in the evenings, which means I'm less inclined to do big outside jobs. So I've got a few things lined up for the videos on the channel. A couple of component overhauls, you know, checkovers, dynamo, distributor, etc., just things like that. On the bike front, very little has been happening. Cars have been taking priority, but I do want to go on a couple of bike rides in the former industrial heartlands or former industrial areas of Newcastle and Manchester, so I'm just waiting for the right day when I'm free and it's when the weather's cool and dry. I'm just waiting for days like that to do them. What else is there? Oh yes, I've got that clock. I've got that clock video. Somebody mentioned they'd like to see that clock I bought from Bewley Auto Jumble in September. Well, yes, there's much to say and do on that, but I'll say no more until the time comes. Carwise, you know, things are ticking along alright. Humber, same old, just working through a couple of the jobs. I know I've still got that kingpin to do. Rear axle, I've got bearings and oil seals to do. I've bought a slide hammer for that to do it. Moggy Traveller, this winter I really want to get the engine bay done, get that stripped and painted, get the wiring loom recovered with the correct cloth covering, just finish the restoration off really. I've been saying I'll be buying a welding set. Well, I've been saying that for months now, so it's about time that happened, because I've got plenty to do, starting off with some little jobs. Standard Vanguard, there's many videos coming up on that. Always something to do on that, which is my major project. And what else? Oh yes, winter cars. The subject of a winter meter is one worthy of consideration. I didn't have one last year, never found anything suitable. Well, I tell a lie, there were one or two cars, although it was slim pickings. I went to see a Ford Consul, 1960, I think it was 1960 Ford Consul. But that was already when it was freezing cold in the depths of winter. I still had the Allegro at the time, you see, and I was using that with its winter tyres. But the idea of a winter meter is that you save your good cars and buy a, you know, proper old banger that's you don't feel guilty about driving through winter with all the salt and slush on the roads, etc. In other words, you don't really care that much if it gets crustier and deteriorates a bit more, is the idea. And I've had a few in the past over previous years, and it is a good sound plan. I'm fortunate really now with this job where I live in the northeast. I'm 3 minutes walk away from work, so I really need the car apart from coming back to visit family and friends and the odd pleasure trip. But yeah, winter meters this year, the Allegro's gone. It was quite a sad thing to see it go, but I'd been saying I'd let it go for a while, and it's gone to the right person. It's gone to a good home, which was the important thing. A person who I've known for 15 years, and he's had countless Allegros, and he's got a little unit where he works on the cars, so I know it's in safe hands, which was fine. It just wasn't fair to keep the car any longer, because it was only deteriorating and I couldn't do the work. I didn't have the time or the inclination. So it was time to move it on. It was at that critical stage where the bodywork it wanted nipping in the bud. Mechanically excellent, of course, as you might have seen in the most recent video it featured in. Its last big outing, its big event, was about 370 miles, was it, or something like that, down to Bewley in the New Forest for the auto jumble. I got nearly 50 miles to the gallon out of it, which is fantastic. They were good cars. I digress anyway. The Allegro's gone, so I'm definitely not using this, the Humber. I'm not putting that through a winter with salt on the roads. Morris Minor Traveller, that's a no-no, because I've invested so much time and money in it. I don't want that to be exposed to salt. standard Vanguard, of course, is still a very, very long way off the road. So I was looking on eBay, little Wolsey 1500, and it fitted the bill. It was local-ish in Leeds. Had fiberglass front wings and a front panel. It was presentable, which was good, so that would have been ideal. And I've got, you know, I carry spurs and stuff for cars like that. The faults listed were minor faults, really. I could soon have put right. Well, I missed out on it. Cut a long story short, I missed out on it with being away from home at work, etc. Which was a shame, but that's how it happens sometimes. And the other thing in my watch list was a Vauxhall Victor F-Type, 1961 facelift model. Now, you might question the wisdom of putting a Vauxhall Victor through a winter, being the notorious rotters that they were even when new. But this one was already a bit broken, so I thought, well, I might as well go and have a look at it. But it just turned out to be too bad. It was another standard Vanguard sort of job, really. The entire inner sills were missing, and it had that rot around the rear screen, which they seemed to suffer from. Otherwise, it would have been an ideal car, but it was just too rotten. It needed sills. I feared that, well, you couldn't have driven it because it wouldn't have been roadworthy. There's no two ways about it. So it didn't meet the criteria of a winter beater, which has put me back to square one. So something might turn up. We're in getting to the middle of October now, so a couple of weeks perhaps before the bad weather really sets in, and plenty of time for something else to turn up. So just watch this space. And with that, I'm going to sign off on this little update. I would just like to say thank you to all my regular viewers, you know who you are, and my more recent viewers. I'm pleased to say there's been quite a lot of new people, new viewers joining the channel and following it, so I hope you enjoy it here at the Car Sanctuary. I shall be carrying on in the same vein as I always have done, really, with the videos, and yeah, just thanks for your support, and safe motoring, happy motoring as well. Cheers.